Good morning. Oh, that was nice. I'm Al Murray, a member of the Worship Arts and Technology teams, and my pronouns are he, him. Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading. Sometimes you'll hear it called UUCR. And welcome to our in-person and virtual Sunday worship service. Here at UUCR, we gather in an understanding and welcoming environment where we nurture and explore individual spirituality. We work to build a committed and loving, family-friendly community and to help heal the world. Whoever you are, wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. If this is your first time with us, I'd like to extend a special welcome to you. And if you haven't already, please look for our webpage for information about UUCR. Here you can find details about our church community, sign up for the weekly newsletter, and find the contact information for Melissa Martin, our Member Services Coordinator. Later in the service, we will collect our offering, and is our spiritual tradition here, we share half of each week's offering with a non-profit organization that shares our UU values. We do this not because we have more than we need, but because there is so much need, and this is a simple yet powerful way for each of us to live out our mission's commitment to heal the world by learning about and supporting the good works of charitable organizations. Our Share the Plate recipient for January is the Hamilton Garrett Music and Art Academy. Each week, we give away half of the money to a nonprofit organization that shares our values. And this is, I copied 3 sections together. Let me find where I'm going here. There we go. There is a growing movement in churches across the country to find ways to make reparations for using music composed by enslaved African people because they were never compensated for their art. No royalties have ever been paid for a number of the spirituals and hymns we sing in our services. As a small first step towards acknowledging this injustice, we have chosen the Hamilton Garrett Music and Art Academy in Roxbury as our Share the Plate recipient. It provides high-quality, formal music education to the children and youth of Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. Please give generously to our Share the Plate offering to help fund scholarships at the Hamilton Garrett Music and Art Academy and to support the mission of UUCR. On behalf of everyone involved in today's worship, I want to thank you for being here with us this morning, physically and online. We believe that you belong here. We believe that you belong here, maybe just for the next hour, although we hope for longer. You belong here, and we give thanks that you are joining us today.
Thank you, Al. Good morning. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am your contract minister this year, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. Our opening words today come from the Reverend Karen G. Johnston. Often people say that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know that they aren't getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see me in my goodness and dignity, and who also see my failings and foibles, and who love me anyway. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to hold my hand, to walk the tightrope that is life, and will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you. Let us worship together. As we light our chalice this morning with Unitarian Universalists all around the globe, I invite you to call into your heart the flame you kindle this morning, the flame of truth, of community, of commitment to love and justice. Please join me in reciting our chalice lighting words, which you will find printed in your order of service. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. I have a helper today who would like to come up and help me to recite our children's affirmation. Thank you, Ethan. Are you ready? Amazing. Please join us. We are Unitarian Universalists, the Church of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hands. Thank you, Ethan. Please rise in body or in spirit. We are going to sing hymn number 1026 in your teal hymnals. We're going to sing verses 1, 3, and 4. If every person in the world, if every leader in the world, and if every nation in the world.
Sweet dream of peace, if every
invite any kids who would like to come up. The mic is not on. I'm getting feedback that the mic is not on, and now I'm getting thumbs up. I love that. Thank you. Love the thumbs up. Come on forward. It is so good to see you all this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Got somebody stuck in the back there. Oh, so good to see so many of you. So we are going to do something special for our Time for All Ages this morning. Do you know what a blessing is? Yeah, a blessing. Ethan maybe has an idea. Anybody else have an idea of what a blessing is? Yeah. Like being given something, absolutely. Like praying, that's another good definition. Praying for what? Praying for gifts, absolutely. That's a great definition. Anybody else have a definition for a blessing? Yeah. Something that you're blessed with or blessed about, absolutely. Gavin? You took yours? Okay. So a blessing is a way of wishing good things for someone or for something. It's a way of saying, you deserve good things, or I believe you are special and important and amazing, or even just, I love you. So who do you think can give blessings? Is it a special person who can give blessings, Jaden? Anyone, really? What do you think? Can anyone give blessings? Absolutely, anyone can give a blessing. We, as Unitarian Universalists, believe that we are all connected, and we all have the ability to provide blessings and wish ourselves and others well. We can use our good wishes and thoughts to wish one another well. Some of us believe we can send one another good wishes from God or the Spirit of life. And some of us believe we bless one another through our kind words and actions. So what we're going to do today is we're going to use our own love to provide blessings for ourselves and our bodies. This is a way of telling our bodies, I love you, and I promise to show you that I love you because I know that you are a good body. So what we're going to do first is bless our heads. Can you put your hand on your head? You might want to kind of direct some love and attention there. Take a breath. And then I invite you to repeat after me. Say, may I be blessed with wisdom and knowledge. My body is a good body. And next, we're going to touch our throats. You might want to direct some love and attention to your throats. You definitely don't want to press too hard there. Careful. And I invite you to repeat after me. May I speak the truth and listen with love. My body is a good body. And now we're going to bless our hearts. Bring your hands down and put your hand on your heart. May my heart be full and blessed with love. My body is a good body. Now put your hands on your belly. Say, my body is holy and belongs to me. My body is a good body. And now I invite you to wrap your arms around yourself like you're giving yourself a big hug and say, I bless my mind, my body, and my spirit. I am holy, whole, and loved. My body is a good body. Are there any other parts of our bodies that we should bless? Ethan? Our toes. We need to bless our toes, absolutely. So if you want to touch your toes or just send some love and attention down to your toes and say, may my toes be blessed everywhere I walk, everywhere I go. My body is a good body. Are there any other parts we should bless, Gavin? Our legs? Absolutely. So touch your legs and say, may my legs be blessed wherever we go together. My body is a good body. Beautiful. Maybe one more. Anybody have one more idea? Our hands. Can we bless our hands? May my hands be blessed with everything they do. My body is a good body. Thank you all for doing this beautiful blessing with me. You are invited to go to your classes now. We will sing our children to class with the song printed in our order of service. It is so wonderful to see so many little people here with us this morning. We take time during our service to light our candles of community, of peace, and of justice. This morning, we light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are in time and space, newcomer or long-time member here in the sanctuary or joining us virtually, we light this candle, holding you in love. May this light welcome and hold you, reminding you that your presence is needed in this community. As we light this candle, I invite you to speak aloud the name or names of people who are on your heart or mind this morning, bringing them fully into this space. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of war and violence. This week, particularly, we hold in our hearts those in California impacted by several acts of gun violence. We hold in our care and attention the Asian American community, whose Lunar New Year celebration was interrupted by violence. We call for changes in legislation to create a safer country for all, and we dedicate ourselves to doing our part in this fight. And we light our yellow candle of justice. We mourn the death of Tyree Nichols, a Black man, a son, a father, a photographer, and creative spirit who was killed by police. We light our candle for him and for all Black people who live with the reality of state-sanctioned violence every day. May all people everywhere live their lives in freedom. And may we each do our part in the work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we recommit ourselves to the work of love and justice, may we each voice this commitment by saying amen. Will you join me in a moment of prayer? We Unitarian Universalists, we have long been known to be a bit too much in our heads. We have been moving towards a more authentic recognition of our bodies, a more genuine relationship with our bodies and in our bodies. These bodies, our homes. These bodies, our being. These bodies without which we can neither have inherent worth nor recognize it in others. These bodies without which we cannot experience the interdependent web of all existence. For it is through our bodies that we are parts of that web. Let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to the great collective liberation of all bodies. Let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to do all that we can to protect against gendered violence, against racial violence, against bodies known and unknown, near and far, stranger or friend. Let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to inhabit these bodies, to honor these bodies, to celebrate these bodies, to defend these bodies. So be it, and see to it. Amen. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like to honor this morning through a silent candle, you are welcome to come forward now.
The Power to Choose by Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, from her sermon in 2004 entitled, For All That Is Our Life. Why does it matter that reproductive choices be protected? Because we live in a broken world where life is at risk in many ways. The power to choose is the power of life in the midst of brokenness. Without choice, tragedy, impasse, and despair are the last word. With choice, creativity, responsibility, and possibility enter the conversation. With choice, human beings enter into fuller personhood, becoming creative agents in the world who can transform life in the direction of greater justice, safety, and joy. A society in which human beings accept that life and death are in their hands is a better society. Embracing creativity and responsibility is a spiritual value that applies beyond the questions of pregnancy and childbirth. To know that we have choice is to know that life is not predetermined, that we do not simply have to comply with established structures, rote patterns, or the dictates of despair. It is to know that we are not helpless in the face of overwhelming events. We all need the spiritual knowledge that life and death are in our hands, and we all need to do the hard work of ethical discernment, of accepting that life and death are ours to choose. Where there is choice, there is life. Where there is life, there is hope. And where there is hope, we find ourselves holding bundles of joys in our arms.
There is a love
Thank you, choir. That is one of my favorites. Many Unitarian Universalist churches focused last week or are focusing today on the topic of reproductive justice. As I've talked with my colleagues around the country in preparation for this, it has felt powerful to connect on this common theme and hear their messages being prepared. The Unitarian Universalist Association and Side with Love, which is the justice branch of our Unitarian Universalist Association, have worked to curate resources for clergy and lay leaders alike. I feel so fortunate to be working within a denomination that puts focus, care, and attention on these issues. So we're going to start today with an important definition. What is reproductive justice? Sister Song is an organization founded by women of color who developed this definition in the 1990s. They define reproductive justice as the human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children, not have children, and parent the children they have in safe and sustainable communities. Reproductive justice is the human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, to have children, to not have children, and to parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. This means that when we talk about reproductive justice, we are not just talking about abortion. We are talking about access to contraception, comprehensive sex education, prevention of and care of sexually transmitted illnesses, prenatal and pregnancy care, domestic violence assistance, adequate wages to support families, alternative birth options, and more. Reproductive justice is about having the right to personal bodily autonomy and the right to engage in family life as you define it in safe and sustainable community. The focus in UU churches on reproductive justice this week came about because last Sunday, January 22nd, should have been the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. We should be celebrating 50 years of the right of all people to be in charge of their bodies. 50 years of people deciding when and if they are going to have children. 50 years of people deciding, having the right to decide alone or with their doctors about all medical decisions without the intervention of the state or federal government. However, as we know, in June 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization to overturn Roe v. Wade and end the federal constitutional right to abortion. Because the Supreme Court no longer recognizes this right to abortion as protected by the U.S. Constitution, this ruling leaves the right to abortion up to federal or state laws, which makes state constitutional amendments even more important. It makes access to life-saving abortions dependent on politics and where you live in the country. I am generally someone who is willing and able to talk about the hard things without too much anxiety. Certainly, in talking with folks individually, particularly after my work as a psychologist, there is very little a person could say that would surprise me. And speaking in public about the hard things, naming racism, prejudice, ableism, homophobia, transphobia, this is part of the work to which I am called. It is a responsibility I gladly carry with you as leaders in this congregation and in our faith. But I'm going to be honest here. I have been at UUCR for six months. I don't know how or if you as a group have discussed reproductive justice or abortion. I don't know your individual views on abortion. I don't know how you feel hearing about abortion from the pulpit. So this feels like a risk. I'm not unused to talking about reproductive justice in public. In fact, as a lay leader in my home congregation, I led a monthly discussion group we called Sharing Our Stories, a group sharing personal stories of living lives with and without reproductive freedom. I have taught our whole lives to our kindergarten and first graders and to fourth and fifth grade. Our Whole Lives, abbreviated as OWL, is a sexuality education program that begins in kindergarten and has curricula extending all the way to older adults. This program, developed by the Unitarian Universalist Association in association with the United Church of Christ, believes that sexuality education is lifelong, that healthy sexuality and exploration of our sexuality should be part of all of our lives. This programming teaches everyone, from ages 6 to 96, that access to accurate, developmentally appropriate sexuality education is our birthright. So I'm not nervous about this sermon because I'm not used to talking about sexuality education or reproductive justice in public. The issue of reproductive justice and abortion in particular has become, or perhaps has always been, so political. And I know not all of us hold the same political views. We are an inclusive community of people who hold the same set of values by which we strive to live our lives. Some of you will disagree with me, and you are free to do so. If you believe our faith calls you to arrive at a different decision than the one that I espouse today, I would love to be in conversation with you. And I know full well that some or many of you will disagree with me on any given Sunday. This is also not why I'm nervous. Rather, I'm nervous because we as Unitarian Universalists are just not good at putting our faith into words. We know what our faith calls us to believe, but on the whole, we're bad at saying it clearly, concisely, loudly, and without shame. And that is what I'm doing and what I am asking you to do today. This argument about abortion access, about choice, has become so deeply divided and political and religious. For many who are pro-life, their stance is religious in nature, and they believe abortion is a violation of their religious rights. We who are Unitarian Universalists are not always quite as savvy at naming our religious commitment to reproductive justice, and it is a religious commitment. We are not always quite as quick to name the ways that lack of access to safe and legal abortion is a violation of our religious liberties. Lack of access to bodily autonomy is a violation of our religious liberties. And it's not just Unitarian Universalists who struggle. I think religious liberals generally tend to have difficulty finding the words to say that legislation that restricts bodily autonomy is a violation of our faith. And because of this, slowly and systematically, the religious right has co-opted this messaging. Roe was not overturned because of a single action. Roe was overturned because religious folks with views that differ from what our faith professes were systematic and persistent and unrelenting in their approach. Reverend Ashley Horan of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Side with Love campaign spoke at last year's General Assembly about how our faith calls us to the work of reproductive justice. She stated, "This is a deeply theological commitment for us. A commitment to reproductive justice is a religious commitment because our theology declares that we are each born with the twin gifts of agency and conscience, that our bodies are sacred and every body is sacred, that our ability to create family in the way we want to, when we want to, how we want to, is part of our growth as spiritual beings and communities, and that our liberation is bound up together, and none of us are free until all of us are free. This is our theology." Whenever I am nervous about something, I try to remember to tell myself that anxiety is my body telling me that this thing matters. And folks, this matters. Being able to articulate how and why our faith calls us to act bravely, clearly, and loudly on the issues of reproductive justice and bodily autonomy is an essential element of how we are called to live our Unitarian Universalist tradition in this time. In spite of our poor articulation, Unitarian Universalism has never been unclear about our stance. In 1963, the Unitarian Universalist Association published a statute on abortion reform, stating in part, "We, as Unitarian Universalists, are deeply concerned for dignity and rights of human beings, and the laws which narrow, circumscribe, or completely prohibit termination of pregnancy by qualified medical professionals are an affront to human life and dignity." 1963. Many Unitarian Universalist ministers were active in these early years in the Clergy Consultation Service, an underground interfaith network helping people seeking an abortion to get counseling and skilled medical care prior to the 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling. In 1980, the UUA was part of the Religious Coalition for Abortion Rights, a group of 27 religious bodies that co-authored a statement entitled "Call to Commitment," a religious statement on abortion. In 1991, a resolution on immediate witness was passed at General Assembly naming the outrage over funding withheld from medical professionals who offered abortion as an option. The resolution of immediate witness asked UUs to contact their representatives and senators to take action on this issue to ensure access to choice for all. In 2015, a reproductive justice statement of conscience was passed at General Assembly. I recommend you read this statement of conscience. As it lists actions Unitarian Universalists should take as individuals, in our relationships with one another, and in our congregations. Although this statement of conscience is several years old now, it has sadly become increasingly relevant. And in May of 2022, a press release was published with a statement from President of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, who wrote, "As people of faith, this commitment to reproductive justice is part of our sincerest religious values. Unitarian Universalism proclaims that all individuals and communities have the right to self-determination, to safety, and the resources that are necessary for health and sustainability. We know that the most damaging impacts of overturning Roe will be felt by people of color, young people, poor and working class people, and those living in rural areas who even today do not have ready access to comprehensive and equitable reproductive care, including access to abortion. She continues by saying, our faith still urgently calls us to advocate on behalf of all people to be able to readily access safe and legal abortion care whenever and wherever they need it. We will not rest until that reality is true across the country. This is just a small sample of the numerous statements boldly made by our Unitarian Universalist Association advocating for our right to bodily autonomy and choice. And there are many organizations advocating and fighting for our religious right to bodily autonomy. The Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice, Sister Song, and Sacred, the Spiritual Alliance of Communities for Reproductive Dignity, are just a few of the organizations whose websites alone can help in giving you the language and confidence you may need to be able to clearly articulate our Unitarian Universalist values. So what do we do? How do we get better at this? As stated in the 2015 Statement of Conscience, we are called to study reproductive justice issues, including sexuality, gender identity, classism, ableism, sexual violence, immigration, and racism. This is the work of reproductive justice. We are called to risk telling our own stories and called to be willing to truly hear and trust the stories of others. This is also the work of reproductive justice. We are called to accept our own bodies, our sexuality, our abilities, and to adopt spiritual practices that contribute to self-care. We know that we are a community that affirms and promotes the inherent worth and dignity of every person, which means that your body as it is holy, whole, and loved. Whatever your gender or genders or lack of gender, your body as it is holy, whole, and loved. If you have had an abortion, had children, are unable to have children, or are child-free by choice, your body as it is holy, whole, and loved. If you take one thing away from today's service, let it be that. Your body, as it is holy, whole, and loved. Will you repeat that after me? My body, as it is holy, whole, and loved. Look at your neighbors. Look at the people around you. And remind them to your body, as it is holy, whole, and loved. Our reading began, why does it matter that reproductive choice be protected? Because we live in a broken world where life is at risk in many ways. And the power to choose is the power of life in the midst of brokenness. the power to choose is the power of life in the midst of brokenness. Our Unitarian Universalist theology reminds us that we stand in history among legions, centuries of heretics and rebels, warriors, lovers, and justice seekers who have always expanded our definition of what it is to live with love, with honesty, with integrity, and with self. As we continue that legacy, may we continue to affirm and promote the holy, life-giving forces present in each of us, reflecting all that is human, all that is holy, that is whole, that is loved. Amen.
Our congregation exists and thrives through the gifts of those who call this place their spiritual home. If you are here with us in the sanctuary, you may put your gift in the collection plate as it goes by. Otherwise, you may make a gift online or send a check. We like checks. Please give as generously as you are willing and able to share the plate offering to support Hamilton Garrett Music and Art Academy and the mission of UUCR. If this is your first time with us, please let the plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough. For the good of our church and our Share the Plate partner, this morning's offering will be generously given and gratefully, gratefully received.
One foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. One foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. One foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. See, the path is there. You got to put one foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. One foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. You got to put one foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. One foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. I know you're scared. I know that you're scared. I'm scared too. And I'm scared too. But here I am. But here I am. Yes. Next to you. Right next to you. You got to put one foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. One foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. You got to put one foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. One foot in front of the other foot and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love. And lead
Thank you, choir. I'm Melissa Martin, your Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator, and your interim Congregational Administrator, and my pronouns are she and her. I am happy to share that our Bread and Roses meal prep leadership, including Montserrat Michaelman and Suzanne Sullivan, along with John, attended the Bread and Roses annual Community Appreciation Night on Friday. They report that they had a lovely time and they met incredible Bread and Roses team and many other guests. Monty and Suzanne, as our Bread and Roses coordinators, accepted this certificate on behalf of our congregation in recognition of our support providing meals in 2022. Our Share the Plate total for Bread and Roses during the month of December, including our Christmas Eve service, was $2,750 to Bread and Roses. Thank you to Monty, Suzanne, anyone else who supported Bread and Roses in 2022 or at any time. And thank you to you, this congregation, for supporting our Share the Plate mission, coordinated by AJ Heidkamp, for living out our mission's commitment to heal the world by learning about and supporting the good works of charitable organizations and becoming more involved in our community. If you would like to learn more about getting involved in our Bread and Roses meal prep or any other organization we support, please do reach out. In the newsletter this Thursday, you will see links for our second week of Side with Love's 30 Days with Love, with resources focusing on the intersections between the spiritual theme of embodiment and Side with Love's work supporting LGBTQIA+ and gender and reproductive justice. We hope that you'll take a look and further your spiritual contemplation. One way we're showing our commitment to these values is by relaunching our Welcoming Congregation Committee. Our beloved community is built on inclusion and accessibility, safety and equality, justice and love. It is the work of all of us to keep the conversations open and flowing, to examine our own thoughts and biases, and to reaffirm our beliefs. It is through our ongoing commitment to inclusion that we create a space for all of us, all gender identities, gender expressions, and sexual orientations. It is through the work of many that we received our original designation in 1994 from the UUA as a welcoming congregation. Yet it is important for us to understand that the work is continuous and evolving. Now, as much as ever, as we see human rights being challenged in our country, courts, and communities, the work is imperative. Beyond creating space for all within our beloved community, we seek to actively support LGBTQIA+ causes and work towards a more equitable and just society. Doing this work together, we are living our mission. We invite you to join our team, seeking people of all ages, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, and allies to further our mission. Our team will provide opportunities for all congregants through education, discussion, activism, and more. We look forward to entering into meaningful discussions and ongoing practices that not only affirm our inclusivity, but also work towards greater justice and equity in our world. You can read the entire statement from our Welcoming Congregation Committee in the newsletter. They also send gratitude to Nancy Nienhaus, Governing Board Member and Liaison for Liberal Ladies, who is assisting them through February. They look forward to meeting with Nancy and the Liberal Ladies group next Wednesday. Thank you, Michelle, Rob, Chris, Martha, Dee Dee, and Nancy. For this week at UUCR, just a reminder that there's no Buddhist meditation group this week, as we send good thoughts to our facilitator, Ken. Tuesday, members and friends of membership are meeting to start this year's Kind Notes project. You'll see more about this in our newsletter, and our chair, Michelle Catalano, and I would love to connect with you about this project or any other membership-related topic. Wednesday, you're invited to join Conversations with Nancy at 1 p.m. online. In the months ahead, we will be sharing exciting congregational activities, including a benefit book drive and a return of our in-person evening soiree. For today, please join us immediately after the service for our special congregational meeting right here in the sanctuary, and our friends online can join us using the Zoom social hour link to participate that way. Thank you all for being a vital part of our congregational life.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to close our service with hymn 1014 in your teal hymnals. And the composer, Jason Shelton, has asked us to make a shift and change the words that he had originally written for this hymn. We've done this before. It was originally standing on the side of love, and he asks us to use more inclusive languages. And if you have a pencil handy, you can certainly change the title. It's now Answering the Call of Love. So please rise in body or spirit and sing Answering the Call of Love for this chorus.
Please join me in your chalice extinguishing words which are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please remember that we are going to be meeting for a congregational meeting right back in here. We will take a few minutes and then gather back in here after the postlude. Our words of benediction come from the Reverend Elizabeth Strong. Seek for the spirit of life that is within you, that you might know more fully its power and strength. Seek for the spirit of life that surrounds you, that you might know more fully its connection to you. Seek for the spirit of life that is within others, that you might enter more fully into the community that embraces us, this day and every day. Go in peace, and blessed be.